Gang, Carl White here, and you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers. And I'm broadcasting today, actually in the library here at the secret headquarters of the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And I'm joined by a longtime friend, one of our leaders in the Freedom Club, Mr. Brett Chambers out of beautiful Richmond, Virginia. How you doing, my man?
I'm great, Carl. This is like I said, this is amazing to me. Been listening to you for years, and to be able to come on this and actually meet you face to face here,
And inspire others, man. That's what it's all about. It's
yeah,
that's how this works. We get inspired by others, and then we inspire others, and that's how it all works.
it's so true, so
Yeah.
true. Lots of great podcasts that I've listened to that you put out. So it's pretty awesome to be able to inspire.
I'm sure this is going to be at the top of the list. So, so what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I'm sure a couple things will come up, but one of the things we're going to talk about today is you're doing these coffee meetings, right? And I'm using air quotes when I'm saying coffee, and you're getting a high percentage of them to show up, right? Your no-show rate is pretty good. So I thought we'd talk about that a little bit. But before we hit the record button, you mentioned that you do your own podcast. So, you know what? I forgot to do one thing. Bring us up to speed a little bit. So, banker, broker, branch manager, loan officer, give us a little bit of the lay of the land first.
We're a lender through the bank. I'm just a loan officer in this office. We have a small office, branch manager and myself, and a couple loan officers kind of under us that we have, and then a processor. So
nice.
We're just with CNF Mortgage. Been here for 8 years, and it's just a kind of a mid-sized bank, mainly out of Virginia, but we'll lend even got Florida. We just got Florida. So
good, man. It's a great state there, and God knows there's plenty of people buying houses here, so there's more than enough to go around. Like if I was going to add a state, or Florida, I tell you, my three big ones that I'd add would be Florida, Tennessee, and Texas. Those are three really, and there's many great states, but as far as the mortgage side, if you're going to pick up another one, boy, those are three good ones.
We looked into adding Florida. Fort Lauderdale is where I was going to go, just because we travel there a decent amount. And as here, when we talk a little bit more, but I had to backtrack and nail down this area a little bit more. It's got tighter. So we're going to get down there. So,
it's funny you say that. I often hear somebody will say something like, hey, I need to write loans in all 50 states. And I ask them, well, where do you live? And they'll say I don't know, whatever, Atlanta. I go, well, last I looked, there's probably more than just a handful of people buying loans in Atlanta. Maybe we should focus there first and then, go in and try to dominate the rest of the world.
100%. 100%. So I agree with that. So,
hey, so tell me a little bit, but before we get into our topic of the coffee meetings, how you get them to show up, tell me a little bit about the podcast. So you're like 10 episodes into it. Is it to consumers or to the agents, or who's audience?
Well, we kind of used your idea, or it was a podcast you did. It was about just interviewing agents. We took off with it. We're just reaching out to agents. We're interviewing them just to tell them the story, what got them into real estate, really. And then what has helped them be so successful in this business. And we kind of want them, brokers to talk about their brokerage so they can advertise. I know we've had somebody actually get a referral from that, a broker get a referral that they were leaving and they wanted to end up joining their brokerage. And then we want the agents to use that to be able to pass to their clients. But we still use your script, at the end, we're always, saying if you want your loans closed on time, you want great communication, and I use your green on a pickle line, so we're excited to see where that is. We've put it on hold for the last 3 weeks just because we're trying to ramp all hands on deck here for a minute to get things up. But, we'll see where it goes. I've gotten a lot of good feedbacks and about 40 downloads an episode right now. So we got a long ways to go, but
Hey, brother, I always tell everybody my first three, and you probably heard this story 20 times, but my first 3 webinars that I ever did had an total attendance, all three combined, of 0, right? And now, we do a daily one on the Loan Officer Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
It has anywhere from 300 to 600 people on every day, well, Monday through Thursday. So, but it started at 0.
It's
And
crazy. Can you get
so
your mom or somebody to come on or something?
Well, yeah, and even I invited mom on. Let's see, I think it was after the second one of having nobody show up. I called mom, said, "Hey, mom, I'm going to send you a link just so I know what it looks like when somebody's on," and she forgot. So even she didn't show up on the third one. Yeah, yeah, and she loved me, right? So anyway, my point being is, brother, those 40 people that downloaded that would have been likely 40 people, in your case, real estate agents that otherwise wouldn't have heard your message that day. So I think it's a great thing to do, and think it's a great way to get started. And I love that you're interviewing other successful real estate agents, because not only are you going to likely get referrals and meet people that listen to the podcast, heck, the people that you're interviewing, it's a great way to meet agents that way and go deeper with them and put a spotlight of coolness on them, and you get the the afterglow from that. So good for you, man.
It was all on you and the team. Honestly, I didn't think I'd ever do a podcast, and all of a sudden, like, let's do this. So
Why not?
Let's start it. And
the beautiful thing about a podcast is, like, if we're having to start a little sporadic, it's better to do that than not start, because it's not like they're sitting there on the edge of their seat. When's the next episode? It's due out Tuesday at 1:00 in the afternoon. Right. It just pops into their feed. So it's okay.
It is. And like I said, we were dedicated. We were doing like one every week, but no one's sitting here going, why didn't y'all send out a new podcast right now, since we've done it in a while? So
so it's totally okay. So cool.
But in the back of your mind, you got to get going again. So
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the original topic of our talk here today. Is that you're utilizing the strategy of the good old-fashioned becoming brilliant at the basics coffee meetings with real estate agents.
Correct.
So on that, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you get a high show-up rate. So on that, are you calling agents that you've worked with in the past, or maybe they were the listing agent, or this just like people that you've never heard of and they're high producers? Like who are you inviting?
I haven't talked to any of these people. This is cold calling, and just so everybody knows, I actually have a loan partner that he used to be my LOA loan partner, and I actually brought him on as part-time. So, as a partner, and he's actually making some calls with me, doing these cold calls, but they're to people that, I've never talked to. They don't know me from Adam. Really, they're just the list from Richard. So
how do you know they're producing, and what is they have to be doing this many loans to get on my radar?
It's got it from Richard Smith, which we can talk more about it. 8. So if it's 8 or more buyer sides
per year.
Yep. In a 12-month period, then we're calling on them. That's when and I get it about every 6 months is what we get. So
you get a fresh list every 6 months?
Yeah, I did a year, and then it needed an updated really quick, because as we saw our numbers dropping like crazy, and I was wondering why. So we were really focusing on because I had about 35 on my Focus 40 list, which is, agents that are doing 8 or more, that are referring you business every, about once a month. Right. And we were doing well. We were in this market, and way better than we were last year at this time. And I was focused on them and keeping them, because I know they're getting called on. I know they're doing. And we were like 12 weeks into it, and our numbers just kept dropping and dropping. And going, what's going on here? Like, I'm doing a little bit of cold calling. So that's when we had to like revamp what we were doing and focus, just go all out on.
And make sure that they're actually closing deals for you to refer.
And we got it. And it was funny, because I went from 30 couple to 5 now. 5 of them that I had 30 some to 5 that were actually still closing 8 or more buyer sides.
Got it. So it just shows the reason to refresh the list to make sure
Yes,
that the ones were closing deals last year aren't necessarily closing deals this year.
100%. And I thought, well, this is great. I thought they were still doing business, but I love some of these guys I've been friends with for the whole 8 years that I've been in the business, and they're still great people, and I still call them just like they're on my Focus 40, but because they will get back there. I know they will, but they just weren't, they don't have
They're
any
not there now.
Yeah, they don't have any business to send. So
And I think you mentioned while we're in the green room that just to give a perspective here, you're closing around 8 per month, give or take, in that range.
right now, yes, we're closing about 8. The last 3 months we've closed 8, and which is down from last year. And then about August of last year, we've ramped it up a little bit at the beginning of the year. In 2000, and because I had him full time, now my loan partner, and we ramped it up, and some cold calling. And we got that up to, I think we closed close to 20 in August. And then, which was great, things were getting tough, and it was too much for us, for 2 of us, and we hired somebody. Able to, once we got her up to speed, we were already lost momentum. She really was, she's a great person, wasn't the best of fits, should I say, but for the pre-approval specialist, she was great on the back end, but for pre-approval specialists, and we lost momentum. Now it's all about getting that momentum back so we can hire some people and really gain some ground here. So,
I found that's the thing about a pipeline business is that, the efforts that we do today are better said, the results that we're seeing today is from our efforts 90 days ago.
Yeah.
And that if we get busy and stop prospecting, the loan officer roller coaster, we get busy and start working on files and stop prospecting. We don't see that until about 90 days or even more later. And then all of a sudden we go, holy cow, the bottom dropped out. And I know for me in my, as a branch manager that I am, if I see a down month, I'll go, all right, wait a minute. And I'll bring up my calendar of 3 months ago. And I go, that's when this happened. And it takes a long time. And the same thing, it takes a little while to see the results of slowing down my prospecting. And same thing, that once I start bringing that prospecting back up, which is what you're doing right now, it takes about 90 days or so to get the results of that. So it's tough.
Time and money, and to get it back up from here it's tough to ramp it back up. So
all right, so let me ask you something. So this is kind of a little off track here, because I do want to get back to the coffee thing and getting them to show up.
Yeah.
Now that you know what you know, and you've gone through, hey, we were closing, would you say like 20-ish?
Yeah, we hit there. We went 12, 15, 20, and then back down to 12.
All right. So going through that process, what have you learned? Like to say, hey, I'm not going to go from 12, build up to 20 and then
drop
back down. What have you learned to keep that from happening next time?
We were already looking at hiring that spot, and we need to put somebody, you get the right person in there, which sometimes it doesn't, as we can talk about in a minute about how I got the right person in the spot for there, but get the right person in the pre-approval specialist spot that we need. And before we get there, that's the hardest part is pulling the trigger on that before you get there, because once you get there,
it's tough. It's tough.
It was tough. I mean, and then you lose that momentum, just like you talk about all the time, right? And then you're in the files the whole time, and that burns you out. Just burns you out.
But then if you hire somebody too early, you got the expense of the overhead, and you don't want to get in trouble that way. So it's I've learned that, look, making a bunch of money in this industry, it's not easy. Like there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And it's like a dance. You're trying to add people on fast enough, but not too fast, and not too far ahead, but not too far behind. And it's anybody that says it's easy and no brainer and ramping up has no problems, that's not the full picture.
No, and that's what's so amazing about the Freedom Club, right? Is because I see these people. all the time that have done it, and they share each and every day about it. There's somebody else in Richmond right now that I need to reach out to because he's where I want to be in Richmond, right? And I know he's just from Tammy told me that, and it's like, let's reach out, connect, and everybody's willing to share. How have you got to that next level? And that's what's so amazing, because we can. It's like a yo-yo if you're not careful. You just keep going back and can't get any ground.
Copy success.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. So, hey, let's just real briefly. So how did you find that right person when you went to go add somebody on there? Two things. Number one, explain what a pre-approval specialist is. And number two, how did you find him or her?
Well, I haven't found the right person yet. So that's
okay.
So we're leading up now, we're doing this, and we're only like 3 weeks into all. Well, when I say all hands on deck, we hired the VA full time, and it's literally just meeting after meeting after meeting. But we haven't hired the right person yet. We thought we had the right person, and again, she was great on the back end. She was a processor, went into that, but she just wasn't the best fit on the front end of it.
I get it.
Great communication, but
yeah.
Hey,
brother, let me tell you something. If here in my organization, if they put me, I don't know, let's say as the bookkeeper, like the CPA, it would go horribly wrong.
No, right? Me too. Like I have no.
So it's a right person, wrong seat on the bus, right? So there's no
great person, and she's actually sitting at corporate right now doing the processing, like the things that she's best at, right?
Yeah. We all have our gifts, and the wisdom comes in identifying real quickly. Whoops, I sat in the wrong seat. I need to be over here. So there's great wisdom in that. And I find usually it's about, I don't know, kind of the rough number I use, about 1 out of 4 works out. That when I add a team member, it's about 1 out of 4. And I found the secret to it is just to go through that 1 out of 4 just as quickly as possible to find that one,
That's really good to know, because and it's interesting you say that, because I'm on my 4th VA over the last 3 years, and she's the first, she's it.
Yeah.
Move forward to get the right one.
Yeah. And sometimes I get lucky and it's the first one, but about 1 out of 4. The other thing I found out is that I was going to say employees, but it's actually all relationships have a shelf life. And some shelf lives last like our whole life. I'm thinking like my wife, we met when we were kids, and here I think we've been either dating or married now for, I don't know, 40 some years, hard to even say that number, but yeah, that's about right. Like 40 years. And so we have a very, very long shelf life, some trials and tribulations in there, trust me,
always. But always.
Yeah. And then I've had other shelf lives that only lasted, for several months. So the reason I bring that up is sometimes I'll have an employee or an assistant or a team member, and they're fantastic for like a year or 2 or 3 or 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. And then like, for whatever reason, either I change or they change, or, no, not that right or wrong. It's just, we just move in different directions, and learning to recognize that and not try to hold on to something longer than it needs to be held on for. It's kind of like trying to get milk to last in the refrigerator for 2 months. It's not going to, it just gets sour, right? Yeah. And it was awesome when it started off, and it just has a shorter shelf life than, say, a package of beans, so to speak. So anyway.
Sure. And I got, my loan partner, like I got lucky. He was the first one really, and he came over, and the guy is just flat out amazing. As in he's the one I can turn over and walk away, and I know it's getting handled.
Where'd you find him?
My branch manager actually found him.
Even better.
With his dad, right? And he came in just to put a body in to help with processing, and here he is. He's going.
Made it happen.
Yeah, and he's and same with the processor. We found her say 7 right when I came in, and she's same thing. Shelf life has been long term and amazing too. So I couldn't do it without them. But
yeah,
but finding that right person, those right people it's key. So
yeah, I remember when I was doing my so I'm a non-producing branch manager now. When I was doing my own production, it was primarily me and a processor and a loan partner. So it was me primarily me, Diane, and Lori. And I was, I'd be at meetings and I'd share, that I was averaging about 50 loans a month, give or take. My best month was 72. But I average around, which Tammy Saul kicked my butt, by the way. So she does more than that. Not every month, but
She's
her
well.
highest month is higher than mine. But anyway, I'd be sharing with somebody, that hey, here's where I'm at. I'm at like 52 for the month. And inevitably somebody would say, well, that's not fair because you have help. Well, of course of course I have help. Like, and how is that not fair? That's just, we call that smart where I come from.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard it, and I remember getting into business, and I was new 8 years ago and here, and I remember seeing people, but they close in, their top 3 or 4 in the company, and they're like, oh, but they got a team, they got help,
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you can't count that. They got help. That's not fair. Don't
I
even
want to
count
be that. I want to be that. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so let's talk about which is one of the things that perked my interest and have you come as and share as a guest here on the podcast is sometimes we find, especially like in your case. So first of all, for our listeners to listen to this, you don't have to start with the cold calls necessarily. Because like what you can do is you get a list of qualified agents who are closing 8 buyer sides or more, and then look on there who you know, right? But I'm convinced that if I knew nobody on that list, if I'm newer to the area or I haven't prospected in a while, or for whatever reason, I can totally grab that list with the scripts and it works, frankly, just as well. But we do find that sometimes we'll get a higher no-show rate to these coffee appointments if we don't know them. So on yours, are all of your coffee appointments face-to-face, or some of them Zoom, or some of them coffee, or what does that look like?
And that's interesting too, because it used to be all face-to-face years ago, and then I tried to do Zoom, had very, very low success rate, show up rate.
Interesting.
So I moved it to coffee again. Got kind of getting mad. I'd drive across town 30 minutes and they wouldn't show up after them telling me to show up. So I was like, heck with this. I'm gonna have one place that I meet them for coffee. Right beside me is a Starbucks right over here, or 2 places, and I'm gonna, or Zoom, right?
And so you invite them, they come to you instead of you going to them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is, and I don't, and when I was cold calling, because I still do some cold calling myself, the VA does a lot of it, and she's the one, I gave her the spot because she doesn't know where I can travel to or not, because
she's not in your area, so she doesn't know what's close by. Okay.
And in the list that we used to have a year ago, the list had 1,700 agents in this area that were 8 or more buyer sides in the surrounding area. I would say there's about 400 on the list now in this area. So we had to go way outskirts to get our 14 or 1,500, right? So
okay,
most of the people that we're calling on, first of all, have no idea. Some of them don't even know who CNF Mortgage is. We can't do a coffee, right? I mean, yeah, I've had somebody say if he wants to meet me bad enough, he'll drive 2 hours up here. I'm like, well, sorry.
That's not going to happen.
Right? That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, I got 3 more appointments today. So,
So do you offer a Zoom meeting for those then?
Yes, Zoom. And then every now and then we'll do a phone call if they want to just do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, great success. I've had 0 show up. I mean, 100% show up on phone calls so far when they say we'll do a phone call.
Interesting. So what percentage would you say, like in the last 90 days, what percentage are face-to-face, Zoom versus phone call?
And here's the thing, like, I'm not really 100%. I'm not 90 days into it yet. I was doing part-time. VA was part-time. So if you go back into that, I would probably be closer to 90 days. We were really focused on our Focus 40 instead. But since then, I would say, so last 60 days, let's go 60 days was when I can really focus on, would be, and I don't have that number in front of me, but it's somewhere around, I would say 80%. Again, 85% is is Zooms compared to coffees.
So 80% is a Zoom, and give or take
Yeah. I mean,
15-20% is face to face.
and this week I have had 11 and they're all Zoom. So no coffees.
Okay, all right, awesome. And so you're doing these Zoom meetings with them, and what's your show up rate on those?
It's funny because when we thought about it, it was 81, but I had 2 people not show up this morning. Of course, so it dropped to 79%, just above that. So
but 80%.
It's right at 80%. I mean,
that's a pretty high percentage.
It is, and honestly, they didn't show. I'm surprised that they just what I do afterwards. Maybe they'll text me. Sometimes they'll get right back on the list just because how I about it, and I can explain that a little bit better.
So are you doing things special, you think, to get a higher show up rate than what we're used to seeing?
Yes, I am, and I've tried a VA. Like I said in the past, I've gone through some. The show up rate used to be Zooms like 30%, and we've worked. It's been, I've been hesitant to keep trying. And then once I found this one and we found the system, that's when I hired him full time. And that's why Brian's doing some, because I can't physically do some meetings.
So what are you doing to get that high success rate?
We are virtual assistant, just calls, right? And once she scheduled with Calendarly, they get that invite.
Okay.
Sends an email linking my Zoom meeting, like tentative schedule, to both myself and that agent.
Okay.
And then she also sends an email to me after that. And then the next morning, the first thing I do, because I usually just get started, 6:30, 7 o'clock because of the kids, whatever. But I send an email. I say, thanks for, it was a great talk. Thanks for scheduling it with us. And it has literally everything about us. So the start of it is like, I'm so impressed with what you're doing in this crazy market. I'm really looking forward to learning more about how you're making things happen. Edify them and tell them how great they are. And then here is what we offer at CNF, like all of our specialty programs. I tell them about our daily success, the thing where we got 6 to 8K more a month we're giving back to.
So the real-time referral program where
it is. Yep.
Yeah, where you're working your what we call the data success plan, and we get referrals from our past database when we do that. Yeah. And so you're referring those back to the agents, and so you're letting them aware. All right, so let me sure I got this right.
In bold. So they can see that in the email bold, like we're making 6, helping them out.
So you show how many referrals you're giving back to the agents using the real-time referral program in dollars in commission.
Correct.
And that's kind of like the PS of the email. So the VA sets the appointment for you. You have a VA doing the calls, a virtual assistant. The VA sends a Calendly link so they know what time the Zoom meeting is and click the link here.
Correct.
They then send an email to both you and the appointment that afternoon or that afternoon when they make it. And then the next morning, you're sending out an email directly to this prospective referral partner. Hey, I'm looking forward to meeting with you. P.S. Here's how many referrals we gave back to our agents using the data success plan.
Yes, that is exactly how we do it. And it has like our reviews, our websites, our podcast, our social media, all that, so they can click on it, so they know who I am and who we are. That's the gist of it. Now, in that top, I think the little bit that helps a lot is I'll say the morning of the meeting, I'll follow up with a text and a gift card, grab a coffee on me. So now you're telling them what you're going to do, right? So I don't contact them from the time that's me. It could be, sometimes it's 2 weeks out, sometimes it's one day, right?
Yeah.
I don't contact them in between. I've had people call in and ask, I saw you did this, can I give you a referral? But I've tried contacting them in between, but it gives them another chance to back out, right? Something's changed.
Something came up.
Yep, something came up. So the morning of, again, I started at 6:30, right? So in the morning of, they get I send the gift card first, and it's $5, right? Or sometimes
What is it? Online Starbucks gift card?
Starbucks. Yeah, that's what it is. And you could fork out a little money, but I mean, sometimes I cheat and see that they're a whale or something, and I throw them $10. So I guess not.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
And
Yeah, and just for like I'm gonna put out a little disclosure here. So anything that we talk about, always run through your own compliance department, see if it's okay. My compliance department tells me, not saying as you're listening today, not saying yours does, but mine tells me that it's okay to give like to buy a coffee for somebody, as long as I'm not saying, hey, if you send me a deal, I'll buy you a coffee. Like that's not allowed. But as far as like if I'm teaching a real estate class and I want to bring cookies or coffee to a real estate class, as long as I'm not doing what they call a tit for tat, kind of thing, that is okay. All right. So you set up the coffee meeting. The VA sets up the coffee meeting. You're sending the county link. You send out an email that afternoon to the two of you. You reply back the next morning, looking forward to meeting with you. Oh, by the way, here's how we helped our agents.
Yeah.
And then if it's a day or two or a week or two, whatever it is, that morning of, you're seeing another email. Hey, looking forward to meeting you for coffee today at 11 o'clock. Oh, by the way,
here's your email. So at that morning, I send the email will be with the Starbucks gift card first.
So you send the email with Starbucks gift card, and then you
text them. Yeah.
Hey, I just sent you an email gift certificate for Starbucks. There's your coffee on me. Looking forward to meeting our meeting at 11.
That's exactly. It's so simple. I mean, I don't say, are you still available? I don't do any of that. I'm just saying,
you assume it.
Forward to our meeting. I just sent you a little gift card. Grab a coffee.
Dude, no wonder you're getting such a high show up rate. You're bribing them.
I know, right?
You know what it is you know what it is, man. You're inserting in that little bit of guilt, like, oh, the nice dude sent me a cup of coffee. How can I be a jerk and say, hey, never mind, I didn't mean it.
I've actually had agents say that, but they're like, oh, you sent me a coffee. Great idea. I had to show up. Right. And
I love that, man.
And look, I went to Starbucks over here. I would have bought a coffee and spent $10 with them that way. So
and the gas getting there.
Yeah, the gas getting it. So
and the time getting there.
It is.
Hey, so all right, so you're having these coffee meetings, which in your case is virtual, right? A virtual Zoom. How long do they typically last? How long is a typical meeting?
30 minutes. So
all right.
I have the VA has in Calendarly 30 minutes scheduled. If it is an actual coffee meeting, I usually tell her to make an hour because I need time to get back. Right.
Right. If it's physical
coffee.
Face to face. But if it's not face to face, 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah, that's more than enough time.
And
how do you, all right, so I know what everybody's thinking. How do I turn these meetings into loans? So how are you doing that?
We're working on that because that's new. So I just ask them. So when we finish the meetings, and this is something Tammy told me, because I was having trouble converting those at the beginning. Again, we're only like 3 or 4 weeks into like doing this many meetings.
Yeah.
We're already getting some new referrals coming in at this couple of weeks, which is pretty cool. But
yeah,
we're just asking them, hey, I know you have your go-to lender, probably have your go-to 1, 2, 3 lenders, and I'm not trying to replace them. I would love the opportunity to work with somebody like yourself. And I just want can I get one shot, one chance? Can you send me one referral? I would really greatly appreciate it. And to this day, no one has told us no.
Yeah.
So then when we call them on Monday and follow up, well, the whole stuff, they remind, hey, I owe them a referral. I owe them a referral.
I like it, man. It's a really simple plan that you've got here. I think one thing I want to emphasize to our listeners is that for me, like from the time I meet with an agent till the time I get a referral, runs about the 5th or 6th time that I call them, which I call them every Monday. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's about the 5th or 6th is when I get my first referral. And then they start coming way more frequent, but it's not the 1st or 2nd week typically. Are you finding that same thing?
I am. I mean, like I said, we're 3. I'm way longer doing it, a few a day, a few a week, but it's taken somewhere in there 3 through at least to get it. So, and they don't have as many to give out right now either. I mean, for the most part, right? They're even the people that are busy just don't have quite as many to give out. But we definitely I would say it's typically
good for you, man. It sounds anything is there anything so I think we got it that the VA calendar link, VA sends an email introducing the two of you. The next morning you send them an email saying, hey, looking forward to meeting with you. The morning of the meeting, you're sending an ethical bribe, a compliant ethical bribe.
Yeah, I buy them coffee anyways, wouldn't you? If you met, you usually buy them coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm all in, man. I love it. And then after the coffee meeting, you turn those into loans by simply follow up on Monday mornings, asking for the business. Hey, I'd love to work with you. Just simply ask for the business. Why do you think? I mean, it's really a simple process, and it's really you're doing it like it's a machine, like it's a loan getting machine.
Yeah, I mean, it took some time, but it's a machine now. Like it's literally rolling.
Why do you think people avoid this so much? Well, no, wrong question. Why do you think some people that typically are struggling avoid this too much? And why do we, dude, I'm the same way. Why do we wait until we're down before we go, dang, maybe I ought to do that?
I mean, I did it the same way, right? It was all hands on deck. Like we were cruising along, gaining some ground, doing our thing. I don't know. I think it's just the fact that you have to do it at this point. And once you realize how easy it is and how just get in that routine of doing it. And you've talked about it so many times recently is your marketing. You're not a loan officer. You got to market, and it kind of kicks to that. So sometimes you got to be desperate, and I got a family to feed. And it's
I'd love to tell people that some people when we talk about success, they think, wow, what inspired you? I wasn't inspired. I was desperate. It was desperation. I wasn't led by inspiration. I was led by desperation. So it's funny how things work when you got a cattle prod zapping your butt, in the form of mortgage payments and grocery bills.
And I'll add to that extra. So sometimes if they're not showing up with that, they didn't answer my text, they didn't show up, I can text them, hey, are you still going to show up? I add a couple more texts. And then if they haven't showed up in 20, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm just saying, hey, you know what? I've that gift card's paid for. Please use it. And hopefully get the opportunity to meet again later. And a lot of times they reschedule. I'm telling you, almost every single time.
Guilt's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, it is. It is. I didn't think I would be one that would use it, but I kind of,
I don't like shame. But guilt can be done in a very cool way. So
it's $5. Like if they,
I get it. Well, cool. Hey, Brett, anything I should have asked you today? I think we mapped out pretty good. Did I forget anything here?
No, that's what we got, going with us right now. I think it's been awesome, Carl. This has been amazing. I can't believe I actually got to sit down and talk with you. I need to go to a Freedom Co event. I really do. I've been in here for 3 years now, and I haven't been.
Well, dude, the next one's up in your area-ish. We're going to Asheville, North Carolina, here in July. Actually, as we're recording this, is the end of May. So here in July, we're going to be in Asheville, man. I'd love to see you there.
I would love to be there. My wife's due in Asheville for our third kid, so due in July. So
dude, just send cigars then. Just send a couple cigars and good for you, man. Number three.
Number three. So
good for you, brother. Good for you. Well, brother, we certainly wish you guys a healthy delivery here coming up. And hey, man, thanks so much for sharing your insight and helping me inspire others. And I appreciate you, my brother.
No, I appreciate it, Carl. I do. So thanks again for having me.
All right. All right, gang. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We appreciate those reviews, and we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey, Brett, thanks so much. Really, really, really good stuff. Hey, for our listeners out there, if you're listening, you want to know, hey, what does Brett actually say on these coffee appointments? What does the assistant that's setting the coffee appointments, like, what do they say? How do they get them to show up? And this qualified list of real estate agents, like, how do you put that together and how does that work? Hey, we would love to map this out for you from A to Z, step by step, a blueprint of exactly how to do it. There's no charge for this whatsoever. If you just go to www.freedomco.com, freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com. We'll map out for you exactly what we map out to our Freedom Club members. And again, there's no charge, no credit card, nothing like that on the very first call. And I bet you will be amazed on how much we can show you in one single 45-minute call with zero obligation whatsoever. It's just something that we do around here. It's exactly how we met Brett. So just go to freedomclubdemo.com and you can take all the coolness with you at no charge. And then you'll have the same roadmap that Brett has. So thanks again. We'll see you on the inside, and we'll also see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.